with Laura, I take it?
Yes, I am.
Good. Who is this, Laura? Have we met her? I haven't, I don't think.
Jakarta Norwood is one of our new PR associates, and she joined us at the video shoot.
That's right, she was there that day. Absolutely, now I
I
remember.
met you at Locals when I was having breakfast or lunch with my daughter. I think I met you.
Now I remember. Sorry about that. Okay, good. So we just adopted the minutes. I start off with some updates. One, I just got off the phone with Melissa, so I want to give you a quick update on the Rural Healthcare Initiative. The county executive introduced his budget today, operating budget. And both Melissa and I and Katie it's a 652-page document. So we're trying to go through there doing searches with WUMCO and Poolesville and didn't find anything for WUMCO because there was supposed to be money, we thought, for the Rural Healthcare Initiative. It wasn't under anything that we could find, but I just by happenstance was going through a list of what they call enhancements to the budget this year in HHS's budget. And there is a line item in there for WUMCO, $232,000.
Oh, there is.
Yes.
Was that the amount you were expecting?
That's Melissa, when I told her the number, she said, that's really good. So I think they're pleased with it. The only thing we don't really know is how HHS is going to manage that, and that we do need to nail that down because we don't want them kind of leading WUMCO by the nose. We want to have WUMCO have some flexibility in managing it.
And what does it mean that it's an enhancement as opposed to being?
I have no idea. They're all called enhancements, and there's a list of programs, and they're the only agency specifically mentioned. All the rest of them are programs. So there's an Asian healthcare initiative and a Latino healthcare initiative, but that's the only organization specifically mentioned getting a grant. So, and they're nonprofits, so that probably makes sense. But anyway, it sounds like good news. We're going to nail it down a little bit better. But if it is good news, I think we probably should send a letter saying this is good news, and the council should move forward and approve it. So we'll get more details on that, but as we do, I'll let you guys know. So.
Okay.
On the community center, you already know what we did in terms of the vote. I sent you in my email a proposal that we just do a letter right now with the addition that we already sent out because Marilyn really liked that. She said sending it to all the council members would be good.
Okay.
So I thought we'd do that first. And then you've seen the video. And I don't know if we had to wait. Laura, what's your take? If we just wait a couple of weeks on the video, or should we go ahead and try to do that next week? I don't think it's probably that pressing that we do it next week, but what's your take?
Yeah, maybe another week and a half, and then, it can get shared around and it'll be live for, a couple days leading into that, so.
Okay. Is that going to be shareable, used, for example, via text and that kind of thing? So if folks here wanted to send it to other groups that they know, or by email, either way?
Yeah, I mean, that link, when we put it in the WeTransfer file, then it's shareable that way. You could share maybe the link to the Fair Access Facebook post.
Yeah.
But the video, will be hard to move as a text file. So just a link would be fine.
Too much data. So,
Yeah.
But if we had a link to a website, we could do that.
Yeah, well, exactly. We do house the videos on YouTube too. And Niles, I don't know if we have the capacity to post any, and I don't know if Niles knows this off the top of his head, but the ability to post a video directly on the Fair Access page of the town page, or if that's too large a file.
Right.
A week and a half from now is also school spring break.
What's that?
It's school spring break a week and a half from now.
Okay.
So I don't know if that impacts
Yeah.
I mean, people are on their computer, on social media anyway, but if a lot of people are traveling and, people aren't in their normal places then. So I wonder if that's not the best time to do the
So
big.
it's the week
It's not
after the next coming week? It's the week after that?
Very last week.
Right, so it's not next
First,
week.
the
It's the week.
22nd.
It's the last week of March.
Last week of
Okay.
March, yeah.
So did you hear that, Laura?
Yeah, we would definitely want to avoid the week that everybody's out, for sure.
So maybe the first week in April then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do that then. And then I thought probably later in April, we would send a muster again to have people contact their council members. The vote on the operating budget is usually in the hearings on the operating budget are usually in the April-May timeframe. We don't know yet exactly when, but usually towards the latter part of April. And we probably should testify too, obviously coordinating with WUMCO, but And then hopefully in May they'll vote. And then the CIP will also be voted on, so by June, all of this will be done, hopefully. There's only one issue that we know is still kind of a sticky point in the community center, and that is that we met with the facilities planning people. The POR was raised during the hearing, as you remember, and that's all been taken care of. They got all the signatures that day, so it's out, you guys have it.
Delay it.
Good.
Yeah, so that's not a problem. The facility where it's going to be located is an issue, so the town needs to, if they can, move, come up with some kind of an idea about the siting, and Jim knows about that. And
Yeah, and I imagine that's something we'll talk about, maybe even at our budget meeting on Saturday.
Right. So if we can get that done relatively quickly, those two things, I think, will pretty much make it harder for them to say, because they were talking about delaying for a year, which we never want to hear that.
So an official, we've definitely signaled that we have a piece of property, so.
Jim said
an official-
we had several properties that looked like they're good ones. He didn't want to commit you guys to anything, but he said we looked at all these, and so they looked at all of them.
The facilities.
Yeah, they looked at them on Google.
Committee already did look at them.
Yeah, they looked at them on Google, and so they could tell, this one will fit, that'll work.
Do they need to come out and actually look at stuff?
They would at some point, but I think right now, they just need they are pretty confident that site for the skate
Right.
park,
Yeah,
will work
next to the
perfectly.
skate park. Okay.
yeah,
So they're just looking for something official from the
Right.
town.
right.
Okay.
So right now in the budget, they're planning to do the design in '27 and construction '28, '29. And if they delayed it, it would be not till '30, so we'd prefer not to have that happen. So that's where that is.
Why such a late design phase? Is it a money issue? Is that it?
I think it's more what Sarah was alluding to. They need a specific site first so they can go do a site visit, begin to start figuring out how that's going to fit on the site. And also there's things like stormwater management they got to work out and
Right.
things like that, which I don't know what their issues are there, but I know Niles was at the meeting too, and he said there are some issues there we got to take care of. So it's not like a straight shot, but I think it's doable.
Come on.
So that's where we are in the community center. On the high school, I think you guys got an email you're invited to a tour. You didn't get an email? Okay, you should have been on the list. So you didn't get an email either?
I have to go look. I think I got it. I have to go back and check.
Because I
I'll
made
just
sure
search to
you're
see if
all,
I
in,
just
and if
missed
you
it.
aren't, I will.
No, I did.
You did. It's Mary Forcade, is her last name, from the high school?
From Carruthers, Mark Carruthers. is-
Mark, it could be,
Mark
Email is
sent it.
from
yeah, it could be from Mark Carruthers.
Tuesday at 3.
There was.
Could you just forward it to me?
Yes.
Just forward it to me too, and yeah, I didn't think about it.
Tuesday?
You didn't think you got it? Okay.
Nope.
So it's on the 2nd, they're going to do a tour. Remind me again, I forgot it, was it 3:30?
It is, I have to go back and look at the email.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's 3:30, Tuesday, April 2nd.
okay. And he also gave directions on, because they got a new administrative office now, so you have to go to a new location, but, so that, I think that'd be great. And then on the 3rd, there's a clap-in for the students, and you were invited to that too. That's at 7 o'clock in the morning, because the students start getting there at 7 to 7:15, and then 7:45 is when they're gonna kind of have the clap-in and welcome them and stuff. I think Marilyn's coming, and Andrew's trying to get it on his schedule too, and maybe Mark, so we'll see, but, no Board of Education members have responded. Oh, I got 2 responses. Brenda said she can't, and Shebra said she's gonna try, so that'd be neat too. Ed's son, I saw him last night at the community dinner, and he said the teachers have already been taking videos for the kids, because they're moving,
Yeah.
already going into the classrooms, and the kids are like,
Is there a
Yeah, my daughter said her teacher showed her some videos and she was really excited. She said it looked awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
okay, on the pool bubble, we were given by the Parks Director two contacts for facilities that have pool bubbles.
Okay.
One of them is actually Hood College, they have one, and I've talked to
It's
their,
not too far away.
yeah, it's not bad. So we're gonna try to arrange a tour probably later in the spring. And he also has some ideas about cost and things like that. And then there's one, I think it's in Silver Spring, but, so we got 2, and we're trying to work on the Hood College one first. So that's a little farther down the road, but,
What month? Like
probably it's gonna be in May.
May?
That's what he said. He has a whole bunch of things now that he's got with coaching, but he said in May he's kind of freed up because they're near the end of school. So I'll get back to you on that.
I seen that link, and the guy that talked to
Yeah.
He's still looking around. I just spoke with him Monday about it as well.
For costs. Yeah.
Costs, he's looking for that type of stuff as well. So, I mean, he's helping out, you know, when he can. So it's been a priority for him, but it is something that he put in his ear. And
Okay.
he is definitely looking to see if there's other places that can do it. I don't know who they used up there, but he's a pool guy.
Okay.
And that's what he does for a living. That's what they do. So
Getting an idea of the cost would be important, because Marilyn already asked me about that. She said, if we're going to do that next year, what do you think the figure would be? I said, I've got no idea, so.
I don't think any of us do.
I couldn't even give you a ballpark either.
That'd be great if we can get a ballpark, that's helpful.
I can get a ballpark for sure.
Okay,
I think the other thing too, you look at the initial cost and then look at maintenance as well.
yeah. That's what the Hood College guy can tell us, because they take it down every year, so, as well. So they put it up and take it down.
Did you skip the Rosenwald sign, or did I just miss that?
Oh, I forgot about that. So I was at a Montgomery lynching project event they had, kind of envisioning where they're going now after the last year. And Mark was there, and Will Joanna was there, and we talked about the Rosenwald sign. Supposedly, Dale Tibbetts is working on language with some local stakeholders. We had language already, and I think it's okay, but he just wants to make sure that Tina Clark in particular, which is good, is satisfied, and Skip, and so several people he's got on his list he's checking with. But I got the impression that there's not anything really holding it up, just getting them to sign off, come back to us with what the language looks like, and then we gave them a sign cost, because when we did this lynching out here, this sign,
Yeah.
we paid $1,300 for that, and we have a contractor that did it, so we give them that all information too.
Okay.
So hopefully, in this next couple of months, we'll see some progress on that, hopefully maybe even do it some kind of an event or something.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Luckily, Will was there and he helped a lot, so. On the co-op project, Jim and I visited the Tacoma Park Co-op, and that is a fantastically successful co-op. Now, it's been there for 20
I
years.
was gonna say,
So it's had a long
well
history.
established.
But they also have done some things right, because even during the pandemic, when a lot of co-ops suffered, they actually did pretty well. And their manager is just very impressive. One of the things they do, for example, they have benefits for their members on a regular basis, 10% off every week, for example. Things like that to keep their membership happy. And the numbers that he showed us, what kind of revenues they bring in per square foot, in the study, the market study, the best one was, I think Whole Foods was $24 per square foot. These guys are bringing in $32 per square foot. So they're doing a lot right.
Sorry, what's the metric? That's $32 per square.
$24 per square foot, in other words, sales per day. That's how much they bring in Whole Foods. They bring in $32. So that's pretty impressive. It's a small store, 7,000 square feet, not very big. Not all that's
So
usable.
it's compact.
Yeah, a lot of it's storage, but but it's amazing how they've laid it out. You walk in there and it doesn't feel small.
Yeah. It's been
So-
a while since I've been in there. I can't even really remember.
Yeah. So I think at this point, we've got enough information about how these things are supposed to be structured, how to get a board together. We need to start moving forward and getting some board members selected so we can start really
And then-
putting together a vision and that kind of thing.
And who's putting together the board?
I have no idea at this point. I'm just trying to myself think about how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because that can't be us.
Or at least it might be helpful to first begin with what are the traits, qualities, things that you're looking for in putting together a board?
And all these co-ops gave us some guidance.
Yeah.
And he said,
Find out from them, like.
you need one lawyer because they have so many documents they've got to.
Makes sense.
You need usually an accountant or somebody with a good financial background that can read, financial statements.
Yeah.
But then all of them said, if you have a 5-member board, for example, most of them ought to be people that are deeply connected to the community, which makes sense. Are big promoters and good promoters, are not afraid to ask people for money, for example, are not afraid to go out and pitch people on why this is important for you to join our organization. So a lot of it is, especially in the first few years, is promotion. And convincing people that this is worthwhile supporting.
Okay.
So,
There might be some development people in the neighborhood who would be,
yeah,
because it wouldn't, I mean, presumably it wouldn't be competing with the things that they're doing development for in their day jobs in all likelihood,
right.
but they would,
Yeah, all of them told us the same thing, though, that getting a GM is really going to be hard. And Lovettsville finally did get a permanent one, but in the interim, they got, there's a group, I forgot their name now, but they do support work for co-ops, and they give you temporary GMs until you can find somebody, and they had somebody for 6 months from this group.
What is it that makes it so challenging?
It's just a very different business model. There aren't that
It's like
many
someone
people
who
that,
has the experience in
Right.
that field, is that the difficult part?
yeah.
It's just a small pool of people who have that expertise.
And it's a model where a lot of the success depends, and which is good, on developing relationships with local farmers. So it's not, like a store normally, they would be doing bulk purchases. They wouldn't care too much, generally speaking, about local farming, but that's what co-ops do. One of the things that I found out from this Tacoma Park, which is kind of sad in a way, is that he doesn't really buy much from Montgomery County farmers. Not because he didn't want to. He said, it's just very costly to do onesie, two, so you go and get apples here, get peaches there. Aggregators is what they're looking for, and we don't have storage space in Montgomery County. Pennsylvania does, lots of, so he goes up there to get a lot of his stuff.
Well, think about how great it would be to work with someone like Community Farm Share, where they've already been building up this network of farmers that they're regularly picking up produce from
Right?
already.
Yeah, doing something like that would help a
Think about
lot.
who's on the board. I think having someone who has deep connections with the local farmers should be a priority.
Sure, absolutely. Yep. Anyway, more to come on that. White's Ferry, believe it or not, I got an email about a week ago from Chris Conklin, the Department of Transportation guy, who's supposedly still working on this. It was cryptic, it always is, he never gives us a lot of detail. But Jim and I always ping him, people are still asking, even though our third anniversary statement was pretty tough, and obviously we're not satisfied, but we also know that, we're not going to spend all of our lives sitting here looking at our neighbors, we got other things to do. But he said, there is ongoing activity, that's all he said. Now, does that mean it's positive and she's actually looking at a new proposal and seriously negotiating? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but I just don't know.
But what would be the point of having valuable land and doing nothing with it? Like, that's just,
Good question, but it's been going on for 3 years, so what are you going to do? I don't know.
It's funny you say, I was actually talking to a guy at work about the ferry. He said something about if the ferry was open, it'd be a lot easier for him to come over here and do stuff. And I said, you got to stress that to other people over there. 'cause
yeah,
these were
maybe,
Virginia-
maybe Virginia locals need to get a little
And
riled up.
he said all the people that he talks to, they say the same thing, but nobody wants to do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was just a random guy at work that I was talking to because he asked where I live. And he's like, I just live across the river, but I never come over anymore because of the ferry. And I told him the same thing. I said, you gotta get a group of people to help push this thing because we're pushing on our end.
I'm gonna write a musical someday
I
about
know.
the separation of our community.
No, it's
Eventual
just,
painful unification.
they see it, they want it too, but it doesn't. seem
But
like
they're not doing anything.
Exactly. So I don't know if we've got to help maybe get over there,
Yeah.
people to get the people to get on board too.
It would be
Local
nice if
people.
we at least had one solid connection that we could start at least providing, like, hey, here's what we've done to mobilize on our end as some, like,
Our voice is
guidelines.
being, we're screaming over here, but nobody's really screaming over there, I guess.
Yeah.
And do we reach out to local people over there and start talking about that?
so,
Yeah,
go ahead,
I
Ed.
think the other piece of the pain points are different. Our pain point is that it affects our economy. Their pain point is that it's inconvenient.
Right.
But economically, they have such a dense and large population is that they have their stores. The only pain point I see on their side is the traffic on 15.
Yeah,
So that's a pain point for them, but that just affects those who are in that corridor. And then you got a fundamental belief where some are saying that they don't think the government should be able to just come in and do eminent domain. And so that's just a mindset. So I think that's part of the rub when you look at getting community support from that side of the river. And so it's, so I think, when you look at what would motivate someone to take action beyond just saying, hey, this sucks or this is inconvenient? What's those pain points that produce enough inconvenience where you would mobilize a larger group of people?
So what I hear you saying is we all need to be driving up and down that corridor during rush hour
Which I am, unfortunately, because I got a granddaughter that skates over there.
until it's painful enough.
Yeah, but you have the folks there, just kind of like imagine all this added traffic if this was your if this is your neighborhood and it takes forever to get home
Yeah.
because everyone's coming over here and maybe really building from a traffic piece standpoint.
When this whole thing started, our Chamber of Commerce president actually reached out to their Chamber of Commerce, and the answer was, this is number 12 on our list of priorities from the Chamber of Commerce. Jim met with the mayor of Leesburg, and she was sympathetic, but she also admitted their town is 55,000 people. So, 600, 800 cars a day is not something that she's not saying, I know it's important, but they just, and actually you probably heard this, but they just annexed 400 acres of land for a huge Microsoft office complex.
Of course, they'll do it for a corporation.
Yeah, so that's where they're spending their time is, I also know the president of the Washington Bikers Association, the bicyclists, and he told me they care about it, but he said, I just can't get folks to really put pressure on their council because there are other alternatives, like, for example, they take a bus and they get off in Leesburg, and when they come down from Philly, and then the bus takes them to the other side in Maryland, and they get off in Winter Rocks, they bike again. So he said it's inconvenient. We like the picturesque nature of it. Going on the Sino Canal was wonderful, but we can also do that from other locations. So they wouldn't do it either. So it came to our rally. Several of them were there, but so we don't have a lot of leverage points. And Phyllis Randall was very clear the other day in the interview she did, I saw in, I forgot which newspaper it was, and she said, 600 cars is just not worth condemning land for. That was, they're going to condemn land all the way up 15, I know they are, and that's 60,000 cars a day. So that's the kind of math they're doing.
Is there a ferry structure that would move more cars and has the potential for greater capacity?
Yeah, if you read the report, it actually has in there changing the way that you get off the ferry. So right now you have to go on that hairpin.
Yeah.
So changing it so you go like that and don't have the sharp curve, so you can cut off that
They would just go
curve.
straight through.
You pretty much can do a double lane loading at one time. So you
Yeah.
could get 45% more cars potentially on there, which
Yeah.
is about 1,200 cars.
Yeah.
So that would improve things, yeah. But that's money. You have to put a lot of money to rebuilding those roads.
Yeah.
And would they
If
do
you
that or
increase
not?
your capacity that much, you're making a lot more money too.
Oh, yeah, the ferry owner, you'd think he would be interested in it. And they could do it on the Virginia, Maryland side too, very easily, so. Anyway, one of
And you gotta keep
the,
in mind,
go ahead.
I was gonna and you keep in mind, for both sides, is not their primary source of revenue. It's not
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not an issue of revenue
Right.
to have,
Yeah.
to sustain their lifestyles.
One thing we have done really well is get a lot of media on this issue, considering that it's a small town in the, not a big issue for a lot of Marylanders and Virginians, but, so we've been talking to HMD, they want to do an event around the C&O Canal, so I've been talking to them about expanding it, so it's actually about the history of ferries in the C&O Canal.
Yeah.
And I met with Knight last night, they were interested and they want to be a co-sponsor, so we're going to try to work on that for probably May, June as an event. And again, it's mainly, it's not just press, but it will be an opportunity to hammer again, if nothing's happening, to have the county come and talk about, okay, we're talking about today's White's Ferry, what's happening with that? So it's another opportunity. So I'll get, this starts firming up, I'll get you guys more details, but they're very interested in doing that, and I think it'd be a good opportunity. One other thing I wanted to mention too, and see what you guys think about this. 2 years ago, we did a Board of Education, we sponsored a Board of Education debate with the PTA. And there were, I forgot how many, 12
Yep.
candidates. I think there were 4 seats at that time open, I think. This time, there are 3 seats. Lynn Harris, Shebra Evans, and who's the third one? Forgot who the third person, Rebecca Smolendrasky. Right now, I think there are 15 candidates running, And the primary is actually much more important than the general, because by that time, you've got two candidates, and normally, the incumbent, if they won through the primaries and got through the primaries, and they're facing an opponent, but they're well-known. So normally, that's not as significant. I thought sponsoring a debate again might be a good idea, just to keep our foot in there. They know who we are, we're still a player.
I think that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kevin and I have been talking about it, and I mentioned this, you heard me talk about it a little bit on the way you were coming in. Our church has actually redone its entire technology now in our sanctuary. And it's got a huge, where we have a bell choir that's every other month that plays. And so we got a lot of space. We've got cameras all over. We got 2 TV screens up, and we got a control booth, plus good Wi-Fi. I think we could do it there pretty easily. And the seats are great, because they're all
Say,
kind
how
of like,
how many people does it seat?
I think we could, we're going to go look at it on Sunday, but I think we could probably get 12 people up on if we had a panel of 12, and I think that's about as many as
And
we
then how many
can.
people can seat in the audience?
Probably about 150. So and that's probably more than we get, honestly, because the one we had before, I think we might have had 70.
So it's too many to fit in here.
Yeah, we could do it in here if you wanted to do it here. It's either way is fine. We got obviously good technology here too, so if we wanted to do it here, we could do it. We could probably get another
Well,
row of seat there. What'd you say, Ed?
Yeah, I was saying the challenge though is just if you had, like, say, if you had 15, if all 15 showed up, all right, I guess we'd have to look at it. How many candidates could we handle where it's not so tight in
Okay.
terms of the logistics?
Now here, actually, if we had 15, it would be pretty, I mean, I was here for the Republican debate and they had 8 and it was pretty tight.
Pretty tight.
Really?
So
Okay.
I'll let you know after we look it out, Kevin and I, and see what we think. But we can always do it in the church has a fellowship hall too, which is really big, and we can bring our cameras and stuff in there,
Is
so,
that the one where they did the screening? of
Yeah.
the Film.
yeah, and that's bigger,
We've got options.
yeah. So that's probably in the late April timeframe, because the primary is the May 14th. So that's 3 weeks before it, I think, if we did it, and that would, I think, be good
And
timing.
we'd be co-sponsoring it with?
Probably that would work with the PTAs, that's what we did last time. So I'm going to see Andrea, because she's the PTA president for the high school, and I'll talk to her about it, but, and we'll see her that, at the clap in and everything, so we can talk then.
Okay.
So, okay, we'll work on that too. I wanted to give you a quick update on the Community Health Improvement Project that I've got listed here. The county, back when they do an annual report on the state of the health for the county. This is not the zip code study, that was a special study. It's just an annual report, and they just released it about 3 weeks ago. And it looks at everything, every aspect of county health, from public health issues to mental health. As part of that, though, they have a committee called the Committee for Health Improvement, and they asked me to be on the committee, and they're going to do a series of community forums, which is great. And one of them's going to be, right now, it's tentatively scheduled for April 18th at the Maggie Nightingale Library. They haven't got a time yet, but that's almost set in stone, so I'll let you know when I get the details, but obviously, WUMCO knows about it, so they're going to be there, but we probably should try to reach out to stakeholders like local doctors, and certainly Amar Dugarella, and
Is it on a specific topic, or it's like in response to this report that came out? Kind of, let's all talk about it.
it's the report, but also they're looking for community input as to their health issues.
Okay, so it's a pretty open
Yeah.
forum.
Right.
It's
So,
like a listening forum.
right,
Okay,
exactly.
wonderful.
So when I'll get the details on that, I'll share that with you, and we'll certainly make sure we reach out to folks, so.
Did you share that report with us, or I can go search for it?
I can send you the link, yeah.
If you wouldn't mind.
I actually was on a call and they reviewed it, and it's, a lot of the findings are not surprising. On the mental health area, though, I think it was probably more disturbing than they probably thought initially, especially adult, not just teen, but adult mental health.
Okay,
Loneliness especially is a really big issue for older people.
yeah.
Not surprising, but.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll send you the link. You guys can all take a look at it. And Melissa sat through it too. She actually, there's a 3-hour session. I only sat through the executive summary. She sat through the 3-hour session, so she knows a lot more than I do. But she needs to know more than I do, so.
It would be nice to maybe see if, Well, I guess the commissioners could come to the forum too. I was
Sure.
just thinking it'd be nice to get like a brief summary, or at least share the executive summary.
Yeah. we
Just
could
as
do
like a
that.
heads up, this came out,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
people are aware.
the summary and the report, okay. All right, that's a good idea. Let's see, we talked about the budget cycle, so I think we know where that is at this point. Oh, one other thing, when the clap-in happens, that's the end of phase one. Phase two is actually most of it's going to be on the new gym. They're already beginning to do, and I guess they've almost finished it, work on the old gym, updating it, modernizing it. So I'm going to try to see if I can, I'm not going to try, I'm going to get the MCPS staff, Seth Adams, to do a briefing for us on the gym. Because people haven't seen a drawing of it yet, and where the concession stand is, and all that stuff, and how big it is, how many bleachers we have, and things like that. And I know they're finished with all the design part of it right now, so they're really going to start on that part of the school pretty soon.
Okay,
So,
yeah, that's great.
briefing on that, so. I think that's all I've got. Anything I'm missing? Oh, I did want to mention, Laura, on the April 3rd clap-in, when I was talking to Andrea, the PTA president for the high school, she said if there's any chance of getting media there, that would be great. I happened to see Fran the other day. I mentioned to her, and of course, she right away said, "Yeah, I'm gonna reserve some cameras." So I think she'll be there. She's in the same organization as Elia, right? The education writer. Are they both with My MC Media? I think they are, right?
Elia, did you say?
She's an education writer for, I think, My MC Media. I believe that her name is Elia Sharaf or something like that.
Oh, Shabazz, is it?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, she sent me an email saying that she heard about it and she would wants to ask some questions, so I haven't talked to her yet, but she might be coming too. She does I'm pretty sure her name's Elia, her first Elia, her first name is, and I'm pretty sure she writes for My MC Media. She's the education reporter for them.
Okay.
But I know Fran's coming, so, but I don't know if there's anybody else you think we could try to scare up, I kind of doubt local media would cover it. On the other hand, this is, 5 years after we started trying to get this done, it's happening, and there's certainly, some good pictures and video they'll be seeing the kids coming in and clapping and stuff. I don't know.
We can issue a media advisory. When you speak about the larger media in the market, it depends on what's going on that day, right? This is not a breaking news story, but we
No.
certainly can target the newsrooms and invite them out and see if we can, get some of the more feature reporters interested in the broader story and telling, the story about how finally Western Montgomery County is starting to get its fair share of, projects, right? Infrastructure, important projects. So yeah, how about, we issue a media advisory, because then we can make sure that all media receive that.
Yeah. I mean, don't break your back on it, but I think if we could get some people there, it'd be great. It looks like Andrew and Marilyn will be there, so it'd be nice if they could see some media too, so.
I know it could bring attention to some of these other issues too, if it's framed. I mean, I like the idea of framing it as, some of this work is coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Resources, and then you can throw in the other. Like, I think you do a great job on all of these things that you write, where it's like whatever the topic is, you have the list of other things that we're always working on that always gets inserted.
Right.
So everybody remembers what the whole list is. So if this is framed in that way, then it's not just this event.
Right.
But it's a part of this broader set of initiatives. I think
Right.
it's really smart.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you get any hits, let me know, because I know Andrea was interested in trying to see if they couldn't get some media for it, so. But like I said, Fran is definitely coming, so, which is great, so.
Okay.
All right. The only other thing I want to do is to have you guys put on your thinking caps, and believe it or not, we're only 6 months out from the Poolesville Day breakfast. It's not that far away. We do have a contract already set up with Simply Fresh, so that's all taken care of. And the room's reserved, I already talked to Doug. I'm just more thinking about, okay, if we get the community center, and we got the school now pretty much underway and almost done,
What are we focusing on?
yeah, how are we gonna frame this about, you know,
Well-
we're poor little people, we don't, no, I mean,
Well, I
we have to
it's
think about how we wanna
important
frame it.
To go to the commissioners too and say like, what's the direction? Like, we serve at the will of the broader community and the
Right.
commissioners, and I think it might be time for some type of a community listening forum, where we kind of say, hey, these were the priorities, these were like the, like, super apparent, top of everybody's list priorities, and we've made amazing progress. As we plan for the next 3 to 5 years, what are the priorities? And let's bring the community in and hear what people have to say. That's what I think.
So we can do that, and we also have some things we still, I'm not saying our list is done, we certainly got the pool bubble, and we certainly still have White's Ferry.
Like the healthcare initiative, we know will be an ongoing thing that we continue to support and work with.
And the Arts and Performing Arts Center is something we support, so these are not done, so. And I'm more, yeah, and so if we do find other things we haven't identified that we certainly should do that, so we can put together a hearing for that.
I think if nothing more,
I think we
it
should-
gives us an opportunity to share with people, like, where we are on these things.
Yeah,
Anyways.
yeah,
Yeah, I like the idea, Sarah, that you're bringing, and I also think that we could go back and take a second look at the comprehensive plan, but just through the lens of fair access, and say, okay, in order to make these things happen,
Right.
where would fair access be able to help facilitate movement and support?
I like that.
So I'm going to ask for a little background, since I wasn't here for, this will be my first Poolesville day with the committee.
right.
Like, who comes to this and what's the goal of it? I mean, what's the audience that we're,
So we've actually, this is the fourth one we've done. They're basically taking an opportunity to invite all the council members, Board of Education members, pretty much all the electeds in the council, and also some bureaucratic heads like Greg Osalat from the facilities planning would be invited, Chris Conklin, he was there last year. And we put on essentially a presentation of our needs. And last year, we actually had the students speak about the community center, why it was important. That was kind of the central feature of it. The year before that, we actually had WUMCO talking about healthcare. So it's not all us. We usually do some kind of a brief overview slideshow at the beginning, and usually have a video as well, kind of summarizing some issue, or maybe like this one that we're doing now, just capturing some of the things that have happened that have been great. In part, we could be looking at this as sort of a celebratory event too, because we're celebrating
Yeah. 2
significant wins. I mean, for us, but also for the county.
Right.
One other thing we do is we've instituted something called the Champion of the Western County Award we do. So we did, the first one was Andrew Friedson, which made all kinds of sense, obviously. This last year, we gave it to WUMCO because of all the work they did in healthcare. So we awarded it to a local group. Honestly, this year, if we get the community center, I think it'd be hard, for me anyway, not to see that Mark probably deserves, and probably Marilyn, because both of them not only pushed for the community center, but also including the clinic in it. And if it wasn't in the budget when he submitted it, it wouldn't get where it got to. So to me, they're probably but we have to talk about that. So something could emerge later that we don't anticipate, but. So.
I think the other piece too with the breakfast, so we invited a lot of the current elected officials, and then during the election year, we extend that invitation to those who are running for office as well.
Yeah.
And so I remember a couple of years ago, we had a large group because it was, you're going to have more people show up on an election year versus a non-election year. And so with the breakfast being in, late September, early October,
Right.
then you got elections in November, I would anticipate it's a great time to make sure whoever wins, they understand the history of fair access, the purpose of fair access, and the continued expectations. And so not only do we celebrate, but we also drive home the message that continued partnership where there's support on both sides.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we had David Blair and Mark at the breakfast. Neil Parrott was there, who was running against David Cameron. They were both there. So yeah, it's an election year. We do invite people who are running for office too. At that point, we'll know who it is, so.
I wonder if it could be a kind of combination of, you know, a celebratory and a thank you for, you know, all these accomplishments. And then, like Sarah was saying, looking to the future, which could be a combination of sort of two things. One would be like the existing priorities, right? The Art Center and the bubble and all that. But also, we've talked a lot about the need for data. And that's probably a big
Future of the ag
part.
reserve.
Right, I mean, that's sort of crucial for us to think about what the next set of priorities
Yeah.
are, right? I mean, there are two ways, you know, we
need
need
more
we need to talk to people in the community and understand what their needs are, but
But we also
that-
need the data.
we need complementary
Yeah.
data. And so that could be you know, we've been really successful, we have this next list of priorities, but really to be thinking big picture about the next round. What we really need is to better understand these things. And so thank you for all that we've done, and we're in great shape, but this might be the, you know, sort of big picture structurally what we need to be able to move forward.
That's a great tie-in, because really what WUMCO has done with their healthcare clinics the last 3 years, that's exactly what they're doing, is getting data that the county didn't even know existed.
Right.
So it is.
So I
Go ahead.
would say two things. One, I definitely think we do a listen and learn. I think the commissioners, we should do that. I think it's good for fair access to be able to do that as well. And then I also think that going back, looking over the comprehensive plan and look at, from a fair access lens,
Yep.
and say, okay, where we do our advocacy work, how does the county council, or how does the Board of Education, or how does the county executive, how do they impact the things that we're looking for?
Yep.
I know tourism, increasing traffic is an issue as well. And so how do we partner up on increasing tourism? When we think about road safety, those kinds of things. So
Yep.
there's the issues that stand out. So we should probably go back and look over the comprehensive plan. What stands out to us as members of the Fair Access as things that we need to help insert ourselves in? And then what are some issues that might not be in the comprehensive plan that are important to the general area? And then that way, when we're doing this advocacy work, there's alignment between where the town is saying that it's moving toward and the things that we say are important to us.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Laura, did you have something you wanted to raise?
Well, one other tool that was used back in the day too, as momentum was building for funding the new high school, was a survey of the community link. You know, that was an important tool we used to demonstrate support. We really put some of those facts in front of some of the elected officials. So you could probably talk more about it, Link, but that from like a PR and you know, that standpoint, that was a really nice tool, and it may complement everything you're talking about for folks who don't actually attend the listening sessions. They can still have a voice in priorities for the community.
Yeah, I remember that survey. That was important, yeah. Although the idea of a listening session kind of fills that gap a little bit, because those people coming would hopefully come up with some things that we can then put into small reports saying, here's what we heard.
Well, I think for me, doing something qualitative like a listen and learn is a great way to start identifying issues, and then a broader community survey provides the backing to say, like, yeah, it wasn't just this one person who came in, it was 30% of the community members. And so I kind of think they're more powerful when you have both the qualitative and quantitative together.
And they can inform each other, right? So, I mean, some of the, and it can go either way, but, you know, the listening sessions can also help us understand what the questions are to
ask even.
ask and how to ask them on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
survey.
absolutely.
That's good.
I totally agree, the multi-methods thing.
Sounds like a lot of work. I don't know if I can do it all.
You shouldn't be doing it all.
Well, on the comprehensive plan, I mean, I've read the whole thing, but maybe, Ed, you and Sarah probably spent as much time, and if you got some thoughts on that after reading the master plan, but are you looking at it?
I've
as
read
Ed
it a
said-
couple of times.
As you said, looking at it from a fair access lens, are there places we could plug in some way?
I think that's a good assignment for Ed and I,
Yeah, I think it would be.
as we do our read-through.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's not just Sarah, you and I think all the members of the committee, the Fair Access Committee, because you and I are going
You
to
have
not only look at it from the fair access lens, but we're still going to look at it
It's
from the
online.
commissioner's lens. right? So everyone can bring their perspective with that fair access lens. They might see something or even have questions about things that they've read
Yeah,
that we might overlook.
yep.
So I'll give you one example to the Sarah's point about other groups and what they're thinking. And I had Steve Finley want me to meet with him from the Sugarloaf Citizens Association. And it was a good conversation. And he really, when I talked about data, he really did agree. So there's a lot we don't know, you're right, about this. And it would be good to get some real good data on that. Who's visiting, why they're coming out here, what they think of the Ag Reserve, all those questions we raised at our forum. The two things that he wants to focus on is the incinerator, because by 2026, they're supposed to close it down, but nobody has a
We've been
clue.
hearing that for a long
Yeah,
time.
nobody has a clue how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we know, and Ed can speak to this, because I know Sustainable Poolesville is looking at it, is the 40% or some very high figure amount of the stuff that goes to the landfill is food. So, you know, finding out a way how to get people to really start taking care of that themselves, and they could, would be huge
Yeah.
in terms of closing the incinerator. So that's one of the things he talked about. And he said, you know, we could talk about partnerships with you guys on that one. The other one is, as you know, they're looking at repurposing the old coal-fired electric plant. And right now, the plan is to put in a data center. I think overall, Steve said they didn't have serious concerns about it because it's not like a huge number of cars are going to go in and out. It's only 5 people that are managing it. There are water issues because it takes a lot of water to cool it. But it is zoned industrial. It's not rural. So it's not like it's a huge change. And in some ways, it's a refreshing change because it's clean technology. But they're still thinking about, is that really the best use for that?
They would use clean technology. It would not necessarily provide a lot of jobs.
No.
You said there's only 5 people
Yeah,
managing
it's
it.
not a huge employer, no, it wouldn't be. But it also wouldn't increase a lot of traffic for like a big office would or something, so maybe it does fit. But those are two things he mentioned that they are going to be focusing on, so.
Okay.
You know, and we may or may not have a role there. I mean, our job is to try to get the county to focus on equity. And is there an equity issue there and make sure we're treated fairly in this?
In
Well,
the
I think there is an
incinerator,
incinerator,
sure,
probably. Yeah, closing it for health reasons.
The repurposing of the coal mining plant, I don't know.
Yeah, economic development, you can make an
Yeah, I would
argument.
be curious to know if there are other alternatives that, I don't know,
Yeah.
would bring a different impact.
Anyway, and then the other one that was raised, he mentioned that again, he said, he's not, Sugarloaf Citizens Association and him personally, he said, I see accommodations, there's something useful. But right now, what they've seen written in this ETA is just not a good one. So they'd like to step back and look at that again. So that's another area we probably could be a
I would
partner.
love to be partnering more with organizations like Sugarloaf Citizen.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve's thoughtful, so. Anyway, so, yeah, that's a good idea. So I will try to work on, maybe, let's see, the next couple of meetings, we don't have anything other than, this next meeting is probably going to be a little tough because it's going to be the budget, but maybe May or June, we can have a listening session.
Yeah, so just working backwards, if the breakfast is in September, we're gonna be full on preparing for breakfast mode
Right.
in like June, July.
June, you pretty much
So
start to have your
really needs
program.
to happen in like
May, probably,
April or May.
yeah. Which is,
Graduation is end of May or mid-May.
yeah, and our meeting's the second Wednesday, or second Wednesday. so.
I just start going into like graduation parties and mode, probably because I have someone
They were
graduate.
trying to do this BOE debate, so we
Yeah.
got some stuff on our plate.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Maybe we all do it another way, is maybe just informally send out a note to all, and I got 50 community groups that we have on our list, and say, we're looking at our coming breakfast. If there's an issue you want us to be aware of, so we can actually begin
Let's
to.
invite them to a listening session, because I
That
think
would be
other
fine.
groups
It's
will
just
too.
that, you're right, it's gonna be hard to get all that together and then try to put it into some kind of program, I don't know.
I think we should plan for not on our, are you thinking trying to schedule it for during one of our meeting times?
Yeah, or we could do it separately, it doesn't have to be during meeting times, we could be anytime, really, because we don't always have to meet on this
Why don't
second
why don't
Thursday.
you look at the agenda in the coming months?
Right.
But I think April or May
For sure.
would be nice,
Yeah,
if we can, in the next 2 months. And we'd mostly have to kind of dedicate our full meeting to that.
Yeah, that one.
But I think
Maybe we have
that
2
all of
meetings.
the work that we
2 meetings in a
have to
month.
do with the upcoming votes on the community center is going to be not on this night.
Right.
So,
Maybe we have 2 meetings maybe instead of a regular meeting, just to do business, and then one that's just a listening session.
Because then we need time to process what we're hearing at the listening session. Right.
yeah. And Niles, correct me if I'm wrong, would there be a potential of town staff helping if we needed to do some type of a community-wide survey?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. I was also going to point out that part of what we did with the comprehensive plan was a survey for that as well.
It's in there.
So there is that data that's in the appendices to the comprehensive plan. But yeah, no, that's no problem.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll do our homework better
Good.
and
That'll be helpful.
narrow this down. These are all fantastic ideas.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, I'll make sure I send that email about the clap in if you guys didn't get it, and also the.
I forwarded it.
Oh, you forwarded it?
You did?
Okay.
Okay.
You got it all?
We got
Okay,
that.
good.
Just the health survey, if you have it,
Yeah.
and share it with all the commissioners too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm sure that it's 325 pages, but the executive summary is only 5,
As
so.
long as I can, as long as I can control find for things,
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
yeah, then I'll be good.
All right, well, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Do we
All right.
have to call to?
Yeah, everybody want to adjourn? Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
All right, second motion.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Laura, I'll get back to you on the,
All right, good night, guys.
Night, Ed.
for that clap in. It's not a big deal, but, so.